So let's get into some players that are getting interest from the Big Ten as the transfer portal has opened today. And we'll start with a player that is getting interest from Nebraska, as we just talked about how Braden Frager is coming back and how Price Sanford are coming back. Now let's talk about one of the additions that Nebraska could possibly make in the transfer portal this coming time, as the Colorado transfer Bangot Dak is in the transfer portal. He is going to be a senior next season, and of course, ranked mass moving on from Nebraska. Nebraska would love to see some more defense down in the interior of that defense, and if they get Dak here, he would definitely be able to be somebody that would bring them some defense. He is from Lincoln, Nebraska. Now, he did not get the Nebraska offer coming out of high school, so that's the reason he came. It was not animosity. It was not he didn't like Nebraska or anything like that. So now with him entering into the transfer portal, there is a possibility of a coming home type of situation here, but that is not a guarantee, as Dak is highly regarded in the transfer portal. The 7-footer, just over 200 pounds. Like I said, he's a very good defender. A true 5 is something that a lot of teams are looking for in the transfer portal. So Nebraska will not be the only team looking at Dak here, but they will be a team that is looking at him. And of course, the hometown affiliation with him could be what brings him back to Nebraska. Now, the next one is Jalen Harrelson, which is a very interesting situation. So the Notre Dame transfer, Jalen Harrelson, he's been talked about a number of times, and some of the teams that people are talking about that might want Harrelson, I don't think are actually going after Harrelson. Now, one team that some people are talking about that could go after Harrelson, and people think they might go after Harrelson, is Ohio State. Now, I'm not saying Ohio State isn't going after Harrelson. I think they honestly might. He's from Anderson, Indiana. Ohio State is known for going to Indiana to get some players, especially when the in-state talent for them is not as good, and it hasn't been lately. They have lost the past 3 Mr. Basketballs to the transfer of Ohio to the transfer portal. Just this transfer portal alone, a lot of those guys were expected to be, not utilized as much next season, or not be valued enough for the NIL for them to come back next year. And Harrelson is somebody that provides a lot of offensive threats to defenses. The problem is he plays a very similar position to a lot of the guys that are coming back for this Ohio State team or that are coming into this program. You're looking at Anthony Thompson, the top 5 player in the recruiting class, 5-star, likely going to be at Ohio State, one and done and off to the NBA. Amari Bynum is coming back to play forward as well. And then John Mobley Jr. is likely coming back to be your 2 guard on this lineup as well. Harrelson doesn't really fit into this team. So could Ohio State go after him? Sure. You could definitely see Ohio State go after somebody who's a pretty good defender and a good slasher to be able to take him off the bench or something like that. But I don't think Harrelson is the type of player leaving Notre Dame that is going to be content with coming off the bench. Another team that has been rumored to go after him that I just totally disagree with is Indiana. There's a lot of chatter that Indiana is after Harrelson, but I've not heard that at all. And I've not heard that Indiana is really even interested in him very much. Now, does that mean they'll never be interested in him? Of course not. Things can always change, but at least for right now, it sounds like DeVries seems to favor the Notre Dame guard Marcus Burton more. The volume scorer was injured this past year, and Indiana is on him early with Houston. But the problem is that it sounds like some more teams could definitely be coming into the picture for Burton. He is going to be a highly coveted transfer, volume scorer, a lot of offensive, firepower in that one. A little undersized at 5'11", I believe is what he was at. But he is definitely going to be somebody who is a player. Indiana also possibly going after another player. We'll just get to that now. Juke Harris is another player that some people have talked about them going after. Sounds like Juke Harris might go more the NBA route, though. Sounds like the college game might no longer be for him. He either goes to the G League, the NBA, something like that. We'll see what happens in this whole situation, but it does sound like from what some people are talking about that Juke Harris might actually just go on to the NBA, even if he's not a super high draft pick, as that's just kind of where he wants to go and start building his game for that, which makes sense if that's what he wants to do. The number 3 player to be on the lookout for is for the Purdue Boilermakers, JT Rock. Now, Purdue is looking for a 5-man to give some competition to Daniel Jacobson. Rock showed a lot of potential at New Mexico this past year, but he only played 12 minutes per game. Purdue previously recruited him, and he could be the next Ade Mara. Now, I'm not saying as in he's going to be as good as Ade Mara, but if you know about the story of Ade Mara, you know that he was not exactly utilized very well at UCLA. They tried to kind of put him into a situation that did not fit his skill set very well, but he was a player with a whole lot of talent. JT Rock is not Ade Mara. I am not saying that he is as good as Ade Mara. He's 7'1", so he's almost as tall as Ade Mara, but he does offer a lot of defense for you, some good rebounding, especially rebounding potential with that size as well. 7'1", 260 pounds. If he has some athleticism to him to be able to work down low as well, he could be a very intimidating force for teams to go up against, especially if you have him and Jacobson both pushing one another. You have the opportunity to kind of pick what you need there, which is something that Purdue is not always, going out there and doing, but with the questions of Jacobson and how he played this season, Matt Painter seems to think that he needs to bring somebody in to combat Jacobson a little bit, give him a run for that starting spot there at the 5 for the team. And who knows, maybe he's better than Jacobson, and you end up starting JT Rock, and you get a really good defender with some good rebounding as well. We'll see what happens. The next one is Rowan Brumbaugh. Rowan Brumbaugh is being, he's gaining interest from at least 2 different. Oh, did that not work? He's gaining interest from at least 2 Big Ten teams, maybe even more, as Rowan is a player with some good buzz right now with his game. Played at Tulane last year, was a good playmaker, good offensive player. He really ran the floor well. He didn't have the most athleticism in the world, but he was somebody with some good quick change of direction. He was able to get to the free throw line well, and he shot the 3 well too. Now, he was on a Tulane team that was not, anything spectacular or anything like that, and he was by far the best player on that team. It does need to be figured out. Could he make the jump to the Big Ten without that kind of elite athleticism that some people think he might? But Iowa is a team that needs a point guard next year, and Ben McCollum is, one of the best, if not the best, point guard developers in the country, and they're going to come a-calling. Now, the thing is that, like I said, Brumbaugh is not a superior athlete, but a good playmaker who sees the floor well and has some quick change of direction to himself as well. Iowa is going after a couple other point guards as well. We pointed out the one of them. We'll point out another one here later on in the video. So this is by no means somebody that Iowa is locked in on or anything, but somebody that Iowa is showing some interest in. Another team that is showing interest in him is Indiana, who would bring a much needed ability to draw fouls to this team with an excellent ability to shoot threes. He would be the primary point guard with a lot of potential for this team. And of course, Indiana loves the 3-point shooting. He would be able to bring that in as well. We'll see if Darren DeVries prioritizes him, but that's really the name of the game right now. There are a lot of players that Indiana is showing interest in. It's just trying to figure out who are they prioritizing and who are they trying to bring in. And Indiana going to be another one of the biggest spenders this season as well. So whoever they prioritize is definitely going to be considering them with how much money they're going to be willing to throw at them. All right, next one, LeJuan Watts, the Texas Tech forward. Watts profiles as a defensive, impactful wing who's offensive. He has some offensive limitations, but they became more pronounced in the Big 12 competition. He has strong defensive metrics, and rebounding suggests he's going to contribute at a high level, but the shooting efficiency concerns and turnover issues do limit his ceiling a little bit. However, a team like UCLA, which apparently is showing some interest in him, is the quintessential Cronin player due to his elite defensive rebounding. Is in the 82nd percentile this past season. He's got a physical 6'6" frame, a little undersized to play the 4, but he can also play the 3 as well. He would likely slot in as a defensive first kind of wing forward to replace departing veterans on this team and provide that hard-nosed toughness that Mick Cronin loves so much. The other team that's going after him is a team who's trying to gain some more toughness, and that is Washington with Danny Sprinkle in his system. They emphasize the dominant rebounding that, and they are going to need that with Hans Steinbach moving on. Watts could provide some more mobility, high motor, pairing in the front court with somebody else. He's in the 68th percentile in assist rate, which suggests he could have some good passing as well. And this would be a player that Sprinkle would definitely, bring onto his team if he could. Like I said, Sprinkle and Washington showing some interest here. We'll see if Washington does that. Now, the big name that entered on Monday was John Blackwell from Wisconsin. Wisconsin fans lamenting, Wisconsin fans trying to figure out how this is a good thing for them. Point blank, this is not a good thing for Wisconsin. John Blackwell is a very good college basketball player, and he is somebody that Wisconsin fans should want on their team. Now, does that mean they can't go to the portal and find somebody else? No. Greg Gard's done a great job of going to the portal, finding guards and guys like that to be able to play alongside John Blackwell. But this is a situation where you're losing both guards. You're losing Nick Boyd out of eligibility and John Blackwell now to the transfer portal. You lost Checky Hepburn a couple years ago. Now you're losing John Blackwell. It's unfortunate for Wisconsin, but Greg Gard, like I said, is somebody who can go into the portal, find some guards. It's just going to be a heck of a task to be able to try to find two guards as good as Nick Boyd and John Blackwell. They don't have to be as good. You likely bringing back Nolan Winter, Beliaskis, Austin Rapp seems to be trending toward Wisconsin as well, so that's good for them. But a team that definitely is going to be very, very interested in John Blackwell is the Fighting Illini. Of course, John Blackwell's father played for the Illini, and he would be somebody that would definitely fit what Illinois is looking for in a three-level score, as Illinois is losing Keaton Wagler, and John Blackwell would bring in more experience. He would also bring in some potential to be better on defense than Wagler was, but the entire discussion point here for me is, what is John Blackwell's role going to look like? Are you going to bring him in and have him be the primary ball handler? Are you going to let him play the two guard and have Quentin Coleman be the primary ball handler? John Blackwell is going to get what he wants in the portal. He might not get as much money as he wants if he goes after a certain role, but whatever he wants, whether it be money, whether it be role, he is going to get that, because a lot of teams are going to acquiesce to what John Blackwell wants because of the type of player that he is. So really, at the end of the day, this comes down to what does John Blackwell want more? Does he want the role? Does he want the money? And in this situation, Illinois has an opportunity for both. So I really like Illinois' chances here. Illinois, a lot of funding coming in after that Final Four run. That's one of the biggest things about being able to go to the Final Four and stuff like that, is you get a whole lot more belief. And I think, John Blackwell, said he wants to go play for a championship contending team. And unfortunately, I see a lot of people saying like, well, it's not Greg Gard's fault. Greg Gard, he just doesn't have the money. Well, he might not have the money, but he might also not have the money because he hasn't won anything. He hasn't moved on. They just had a season where they had some of the best wins in all of college basketball, and they lose in round one to High Point. Look, I'm not trying to kick Wisconsin while they're down or anything like that, but this whole notion of like, well, we just need to excuse Greg Gard. No, this is why programs fire guys like Hubert Davis and stuff who cannot win in the tournament, because in this age of NIL and stuff, you have to win in the tournament in order to have belief for your program, so that way more people donate to your program. Otherwise, you're in a situation where you don't get enough donations to be able to field the type of team that you would like to field. So anyway, that's my spiel on that. The other team that is expected to go after John Blackwell here, I've not heard they've shown any formal interest, but definitely a team that would have some interest based on where John Blackwell is from, which is Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. That would be the Michigan Wolverines. He fits his desire. This would fit his desire to play for a national championship contender. He's from Michigan, and you have to think about how good this backcourt would be with him, Trey McKinney, Elliot Cadeau. We'll see what it looks like. I mean, that's obviously, just expecting everybody to come back from Michigan, which I don't see why they wouldn't, but, we'll see what happens. Trey Donaldson left last year as well. I know it's not exactly the same situation, but another team in the Big Ten who's expected to go after John Blackwell is Michigan, as he does fit a lot of what they would be looking for. And maybe Trey McKinney has another year of continuing to develop that three-level score. He's already kind of that way, but to have a piece as integral as that be Trey McKinney coming off the bench or starting for you. Sounds like something that Dusty May would maybe want to bring in more of a veteran for in that way. So I expect Michigan to be involved here with John Blackwell as well. All right, few more guys, and we're going to kind of go rapid fire here a little bit because there's not as many, but we will talk about them. Next one, Big Ten fans, Illinois fans will recognize this name, Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn. Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn is Lawhorn is expected to be gaining interest from Maryland. He has elite scoring production. He would fit into Buzz Williams' system very well. Buzz Williams has done a good job in the transfer portal with guys like Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn, and he would be able to bring in some offense that Buzz Williams and his team really needed this past season. You bring in a guy like Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn, and he should be able to provide that for you. The next one, and this one might be a little bit of a longer discussion, but he is a very, very good basketball player, and Michigan will definitely want to go after Isaiah Johnson as well. Isaiah Johnson, the Colorado guard. Again, Michigan is going to be looking for another guard this offseason. I don't know how exactly that's going to work with Elliot Cadeau and Trey McKinney and all this stuff. Who knows exactly how it's going to work, but at this point, nobody can question Dusty May. He's likely going to win a national championship as I sit here continuing to watch the game as it ticks off here. But Isaiah Johnson, Michigan is definitely going to be showing some interest in him. He's going to be looking for some good NIL, revenue sharing compensation, and Michigan is somebody that's going to be able to provide that for him. Another team that would be looking at after Isaiah Johnson would be Iowa. Iowa, a team that would be interested in him, his high-level shot-making ability, his offense, just his high-level ability in general. A sophomore that Ben McCollum could really, develop throughout the years. Now they might have a rough first year as, they continue to develop and stuff, but Isaiah Johnson has been an incredible player this season at Colorado. Really good offensive player, averaging nearly 17 points per game. So even if there is a little bit of a growing pains period there, you're still going to have spectacular offense from Johnson there at Iowa. And Ben McCollum, he can go after guys like Johnson because of his pedigree of what he has done with the point guard position in college. All right, two more left. The final two in this situation. Next one is Terrence Hill Jr., the VCU Ram. The Illini coaching staff had a fresh scouting report on Terrence Hill Jr. as they faced him in the round of 32. And Hill Jr. did not get nearly enough credit for how good he was in that game. Despite Illinois winning the game and Andrej Stojakovic playing fantastic, they did not get enough credit, or Hill Jr. did not get enough credit for how well he played. 17 points, 7 rebounds against an elite Illinois defense with a lot of length. Brad Underwood's system would thrive with this positionless type of guard, and he does have the point guard potential that you could bring him in, let Quentin Coleman play the two, and then have Andrej Stojakovic in there as well. He wouldn't be super ball dominant, and so that would be a positive for them. And then the other Big Ten team that would be going after Terrence Hill Jr., or that is going after Terrence Hill Jr., is the Oregon Ducks. Terrence Hill Jr. is from Portland, Oregon, and with Jackson Shellstad, Kwame Evans Jr. moving on, Dana Altman has a massive scoring void to look out for, and Terrence Hill Jr. scoring 15 points per game would definitely be able to help with that, and he would have that kind of rugged play style mentality coming from the A-10 that would fit in well with the Big Ten, and Dana Altman might need somebody like that to play his point guard position. Final one here in the Big Ten, gaining some interest on day one of the portal, Leroy Blyden Jr., the guard from Toledo, currently an underrated guard in the portal who Rutgers could capitalize on if he decides to commit early. A lot of other guards gaining a lot of attention. Leroy is a very good point guard. He showed it this season as a freshman at Toledo, and a lot of other teams are going after him. Sounds like Rutgers and Cincinnati are the two teams going after him the most. If they can solidify things early, then I do like the odds here for Rutgers, but we'll have to see what happens. Rutgers needs a guard who can shoot 40% from deep, defend at a high level, and manage the game. Blyden checks those boxes while offering 3 seasons of eligibility, making him a home run target for the Scarlet Knights. All right, that will do it for the players. I know that was a whole lot to get to. That'll do it for the players gaining interest from Big Ten teams on day one of the transfer portal. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you had any of your team mentioned or any players mentioned that you sparked your interest, let me know down in the comment section below. Would really appreciate it. Please do like and subscribe here on YouTube. 5-star reading review if you're listening on podcast as well.